Hello and welcome to the next episode in our Jesse Tree series. And this is today's object. Wonder if you know what it is. Well, it's a musical instrument. It's only a plastic one, it's not the real thing. But it's a harp. And that fits in the story because our character used to play the harp. And his name was David. David was the youngest in his family. And as he grew up, as a boy, he would learn to be a shepherd, taking care of sheep in the fields. But also, he could play music. And he would play the harp, and he would maybe sing, we don't know, but he certainly wrote lots of songs. In the Bible, right near the middle, is a section called Psalms. And Psalms are poems or songs or hymns, many of which were written by David. And these are in the Bible, and they're about many things. And churches still use them a lot today in their worship. So we'll hear more about David today.
Music can have many different moods, can't it? And make us feel different things. I'm going to play you a few clips here. See how these pieces of music might make you feel. Here's the first one. What do you think? Relaxed? Sad? How about this one? Perhaps something exciting is going to happen in a film. What do you think to this piece of music? I think this is a bit scary, or maybe a bit creepy. And here's the last one. This is lively and cheerful, isn't it? So music can have many different moods, and we enjoy it for different reasons. Some of the songs of David from the book of Psalms in the Bible. David was often invited to play his harp in front of King Saul, who was calmed by the beautiful music that David played. David was skillful in writing songs of praise called psalms. In the lyrics, David spoke of God's greatness. O Lord our God, the majesty and glory of your name fills all the earth and overflows the heavens. When he was young, David cared for his father's sheep. He knew that God would care for him that way and wrote this: The Lord is my shepherd, I have everything I need. Even when walking through the dark valley of death, I will not be afraid, for you are close beside me, guarding and guiding all the way. Some songs are prayers for forgiveness. O loving and kind God, have mercy, have pity on me, and take away the stain of my sin. Wash me clean from this guilt. Other psalms are prayers for help or rescue. I am in deep trouble. Rush to my aid, for only you can save and help me, O Lord. Don't delay. Some are happy and thankful psalms. Open my eyes to see wonderful things in your word. I need your map. Your commands are my chart and guide. I long for your instructions. I love your commandments more than the finest gold. Every law of God is right, whatever it concerns. I hate every other way. David wrote and sang many songs of praise and thanksgiving to God. I will be glad and rejoice in you. I will sing the praises of your name, O Most High God.
David would spend a lot of his time in fields like this, caring for sheep, and he would do this for many years. He would probably have his harp and make music while he was out in the fields. One of his most famous psalms in the Bible reminds us about being a shepherd, and it begins, "The Lord is my shepherd, I will not want." And it was while David was caring for sheep that he was first called. Let's listen to his story now.
Samuel anoints David to be king. We heard about Samuel last week. By now, Samuel was an old man. God spoke to him and said, "Go to Bethlehem, to a house where a man called Jesse lives. Take some olive oil with you. I have chosen one of Jesse's sons to be king." God said, "Take a calf with you and say that you have come to offer a sacrifice to the Lord. Invite Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will tell you the son I have chosen as king." Samuel obeyed. At the sacrifice, Samuel saw Jesse's oldest son Eliab and thought, "This man must be the one that God has chosen." But the Lord said to him, "Pay no attention to how tall and handsome he is. I have rejected him. I do not judge the way that people judge. They look at the outward appearance, but I look at the heart." Then Jesse called his next oldest son Abinadab, but Samuel said, "No, the Lord hasn't chosen him either." Next, Jesse brought Shammah. "No, the Lord hasn't chosen him either," said Samuel. One by one, Jesse brought 7 of his sons to Samuel, but each time Samuel said to him, "No, the Lord hasn't chosen any of these." The prophet Samuel asked Jesse, "Do you have any more sons?" Jesse answered, "There is the youngest, David, but he's out taking care of the sheep." "Tell him to come here," Samuel said. "We won't offer the sacrifice until he comes." Jesse sent for him. He was a handsome and healthy young man, and his eyes sparkled. The Lord said to Samuel, "This is the one. Anoint him." Samuel took the olive oil and anointed David in front of his brothers. Immediately the Spirit of the Lord took control of David and was with him from that day on. In the future, David would become a great king, probably the best that Israel has ever known. Here's our Jesse tree again. Can you remember all the objects? The apple for Adam and Eve, the star for Abraham, the knife for Isaac, the ladder for Jacob, the 10 Commandments for Moses, the wheat for Ruth, and the lamp for Samuel. And today we're going to add on a harp to remind us of David.
David started out as a very ordinary young shepherd boy, but God chose him to be a really important king, known as the greatest king that Israel ever had. David wasn't perfect, but God did choose him, and David always loved God. And we read some promises that were made to David. And we're going to find out where the name Jesse Tree comes from. So this is something that God said to David. When you die and are buried with your ancestors, I will make one of your sons king and will keep his kingdom strong. You will always have descendants, and I will make your kingdom last forever. Your dynasty will never end. So that promise meant that somebody in David's family would always be king in Israel. Wonder what that could mean. So now let's look at another message. And this was given by a prophet, a messenger for God called Isaiah. And he wrote this long after David had died. This was Isaiah's message. The royal line of David is like a tree that has been cut down. But just as new branches sprout from a stump, so a new king will arise from David's descendants. From out of Jesse, a new king will come. Remember, Jesse was David's dad. And so Isaiah was saying that from that family line, from that family tree, from Jesse's line, a new king would come. And we've been discovering, and we'll continue to discover, that king would be Jesus. And so that's where our name Jesse Tree comes from. It comes from Jesse, David's father, and that promise that one of that family would always be king. And as we get closer to Christmas, we will be thinking about Jesus being part of that family line. Let's finish with a prayer. Dear God, thank you for our families and people that care for us. Thank you for your promises in the Bible. Thank you that they are always true. Thank you that you promised to send a king, and that king, forever king, would be Jesus. Help us to love and trust him more. Amen.